Hello.
Hello. I'm going to do something really controversial, if you'll agree. Hi, Eric. Hi, Kim. I want to bring in the higher selves of Trump and Clinton just to ask them some very respectful questions.
Okay. All right. First of all, Eric says he sat up and he's like, "Hi, Mom."
Hi, Eric.
He's acting so silly. Um, so we can access some. Just for me as a medium, there's a certain length that I'll go to with that, and then there's some boundaries that I won't cross
Oh,
because
yeah.
of invading personal privacy.
Oh, sure.
Um, so Eric's like, he goes, "I'll keep you in line, Kim."
All right, good. You keep me in line, too.
So he says, all right, he says, "Who do you want to start with?"
You pick.
He's laughing. He's like, he goes, "I hope you're ready for this because there's so much going on. Like the
I
energy
know.
is so loud."
Oh,
Um, he says, "All right, ladies first."
all right, Miss Secretary of State, Madam Secretary Clinton. Well, she's not Secretary of State anymore, but hello, Hillary. How are you doing, Miss Clinton?
So the female energy steps forward with a very subdued kind of energy and a very respectful thank you. Um,
What does she feel like to you?
Calm and quiet. She feels headstrong, like a lot of energy up here, very strong,
Mm.
um, very intelligent, very intellectual,
Oh, yeah.
and very engaging.
Hmm.
So,
Uh,
very, um, oh, I don't know the right word. Like she kind of bows, like she's very humble, polite, that kind of thing. Um, so she says, "How can I help you?"
how do you feel about how your campaign is going? How uh, your fight for the presidency is doing?
She's talking about this campaign between like her and her rival. She's showing her and her rival, and the awareness that it's bringing to the people, but not limited to the people of the U.S. Like I feel like this is worldwide. She says, um, for her campaign, she doesn't talk about specifics, but more the purpose
Mm.
of her in this role. So that's what she's addressing. She says the purpose of her in this role and of her against like her rival is to move. She actually shows to her. Okay, so she's using image. So she says this campaign with her rival is to move people in ways that teach them about themselves, that teach them deeper about themselves with their comfort level of who they are and the lives that they live for themselves. So, whatever she and her opponent discuss in their campaigns and agree on and don't agree on, she says, is all because of the effect of how it makes individuals, come down and digest our campaigns. She actually called it a trial, but she's referring to the campaign.
Okay.
But she says it's all to move individuals in a way that teaches them about their own self.
Okay. Why do you want to be the president?
And that's an interesting way that she answers that, because we're talking to the higher self. So she says it's the purpose. It's not a want. It's not a need. It's a purpose in playing this role.
Like a
Um,
spiritual contract? Oh,
exactly.
okay. Okay.
Um, so it's fulfillment of achieving and teaching discernment among men, like to the masses. So basically, what I do, what I say, has an effect on you and has an effect on many, to teach you about yourself, what you believe in, what
Okay.
you don't.
I can
Um,
see that. Yeah. Now,
it's
how do you feel? And I'm going to ask Trump the same thing. So, uh, about your likability numbers and the fact that so many people don't trust you. That's got to hurt.
She's really big on showing the separation here because remember, we're talking to the higher self. So the higher self
And
doesn't.
not the personality.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So she says, she's very compassionate though when she talks to you. She says, when you said that's gotta hurt, she shook her head no because hurt comes from a lack of understanding, and that is not where I am. But this again is the higher self.
Right. Well,
So
why? Well, how do you think the personality, the human Hillary Clinton feels about that?
she's giving me energy that is descriptive of feeling like chaos. It feels like when I go up here, all into the head energy, she's describing it being as like chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And this might seem strange, but the feeling that she's giving me is like almost forgetfulness. Like I forget what I've even done. And I don't know what that done behind in the past is, but it's like
Selective memory, that sort of thing.
she doesn't call it selective. It's almost like starting something and looking back and thinking, oh, but I can't remember. Like it just feels
Okay.
unorganized. That's
Okay.
the way to describe
It
it.
sounds like my mind. Wow. Well,
And there's a
ca-
lot of fear. There's a lot of fear
yeah.
too.
Now the personality Hillary, Miss Clinton. A lot of people say, I mean, what does she want to be president for? Is it the power and money, or is it because she really cares about the country, or is it all of those, or something else?
So she started to answer that again from the higher perspective, and I said we're asking about the personality here. So she's shifting.
And don't worry, people. I'm going to ask some tough questions of Trump too.
Yeah, I feel like the um, to teach a lesson, and that energy comes through really strong. I don't know what the lesson is. It feels like a mystery. It feels like it's unseen because there's a big question mark around that energy.
Mm-hmm.
To teach a lesson, the power is needed to teach a lesson, but it's very individualized from her perspective. So what I mean by this is like if she does come in and take office, um, she wants to teach a lesson to people, to mankind about her perspective or like her beliefs, where she comes from. So of course, I'm sure that's what every president does or wants, but it seems
Sure.
singular in her views. I guess just in how she comes across to people. But this is future reference too. When I said how she comes
Right.
across to people, this is
Right.
as if she's in office.
Okay.
Um, it's not just about power or just about money. It's more about the platform to do what I want to do.
Okay. Is there anything on the deleted did you delete those emails, 30,000 emails on purpose? And if
Um,
so, why?
before you even, when you said, did you delete? I heard no very quickly.
Okay. Well, is there anything that the human Hillary did wrong as far as those emails are concerned, or is there, yeah? Because people are honestly concerned about that, so I'm going to ask.
She just keeps saying no. She just keeps repeating no.
Okay.
So I asked if she can elaborate and explain a little bit about what happened with some emails. But she goes back and says to re-acknowledge your question. So when you said, did you delete? She said no, but you said, did you delete intentionally? And that's where she wants to make that clarification.
She wasn't trying to delete something to hide something.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. That's the clarification she just started to make.
Well, what about the Clinton Foundation? You've also been accused of, using your office as Secretary of State to curry favor, say, sell things or whatever to uh, other heads of state, other people, Wall Street, I don't know, whatever. Um, is that true? That you've
This is what I hear. So I hear misappropriate. So I think inappropriate use of, you know what? It almost feels like, honestly, a sense of entitlement.
okay?
So it's like, let's say, she has whatever platform she has right now, an office to do whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like she maybe used that to do more than what she could have or should have because it feels like a sense of entitlement.
Oh, did
Or
she profit by it because of her office?
no, I don't think that's not what she's saying.
Okay.
Um, it's like using one step stool to get to something else.
Okay.
It's the best way
I
I can
gotcha. All right, I
describe.
gotcha. All right, last question. I need to give equal time to Trump. What are your hopes for this country? Just briefly.
She's showing a lot of regulations, a lot of rules, much more like strict consequences behind laws, law enforcement. There's a big focus on law enforcement and rules regulations
Okay.
for. It really feels like freedom kind of gets tightened down a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that we won't have freedom, but it just seems like we're going to face much stricter consequences to, misbehavior. Um,
Okay.
so it just seems like, when I say, okay, so I asked her the question again, what would you like to see for this country? It's order, behavior related order,
Okay.
and then strict. She doesn't address money. She won't talk about money,
Okay.
but strict laws.
Okay. She wants to rule with an iron fist. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Clinton. Good luck
She's
on the
very,
campaign trail.
she's very kind. Her higher self is very kind and sort of takes a bow and says thank you. Um, she just kind of says, remember the purpose. That it's the ripple effect that it has on the people to teach you about yourself.
Okay. That's the spiritual contract. I will remember that.
Yeah, this whole experience between them, she says.
All right. Thank you. And let's bring in Mr. Trump.
So also a very calm higher self, but very dominant feeling, very big, um, but also still very calm. I think anytime we talk to anybody's higher self, it's probably going to be that way.
Well, you're probably right. Well, I'm going to ask you, Trump's higher self, some questions about the human Trump, the personality Trump. Why want to become president? Is it for fame? Is it for money? Well, he doesn't need money, I guess. Or is it because he loves his country? It could be more, all of those and more, but what are your intentions?
Um, it's about the country and it's about changing the way the country acts and behaves again. It feels very similar to Hillary, but Hillary was more, the higher self was more talking about laws and regulations, and this is more about it feels like collectively changing the way people act and behave towards each other.
What do you mean?
Um, More respect, like in a good way. Um,
That people will learn to respect each other?
yeah, and I said, well, how will you do that? How will you
Yeah.
do that? There's no reference to laws. There's no reference to money, and even no reference to power. Um, so I'm asking, well, is this just coming from ego? This like desire to be president or whatever? Um, there's a lot of ego involved. There's a lot, and then it just keeps repeating. There's a lot of ego involved, but it's about changing like the way the country operates from. So okay, so he's showing me like mass like manufacturers all the way down to single family home. He says. So changing the way we operate, and then so he's starting to show me like what we manufacture and put out as a country. So if we're supplying other countries with this or that, well, okay. So then I heard financial. So whatever we manufacture and put out, it's there's a financial tie to it. Um, Raising our financial output is what it feels like.
Okay.
But it's not in the sense of like creating debt. That's not what it is. Like,
Okay.
um,
Yeah, we don't need any more of that.
yeah.
So he wants to make the economy better? Is that what he's trying to say?
Yes, the economy, and then it keeps going down to the personal level about who you are as a person, but how that contributes to the collective consciousness to this whole country. Um, so I guess personal discernment, like his role for this spiritual contract is to, even if he doesn't get into office, but still having campaigned, making you think of your discernment in who you are as an American citizen, but then still also making others that are not Americans changing their views or the way they think about America.
Okay.
Um,
Is that in a positive way or a negative way?
I'll be honest, it actually feels negative. It kind of feels like America, and again, this is just coming from the higher self of him. It feels like the effect is other countries perceiving America as like the bully.
Okay. Well, where does this whole respect thing come in? That doesn't sound like.
Well, okay, so what he's showing is like America coming in, and like if he takes office, America and Americans are more respectful and cooperative with each other, but then almost like collectively more ego as a country.
Like
And
more
they,
patriotic nationalism, Americanism, American exceptionalism comes back. That idea
yeah,
of American exceptionalism, and the rest of the world thinks that's arrogant. Is that what you're saying?
exactly.
Okay.
Yep. The rest of the world kind of
Well,
perceiving that
at
as
least we'll respect each other and respect our citizenship. I don't know. Are you really going to build that wall? That's what I want to know.
um I can't give a full yes, a full 100%
Okay.
yes.
Now,
So
let's talk about your trustworthy and likability numbers. Pretty bad, especially likability,
um so that
especially among women.
that shifted to the lower self when you asked that.
Hmm.
And I honestly heard people hate me.
Oh, no.
Um, Knowing that and feeling that, very aware of it, but it does not change his discernment.
Okay.
It's like it doesn't affect him.
Are you going to do something to make women like you more? No? Now, also the personal attacks you have, like Crooked Hillary, Lying Ted, you know, um, it sounds almost childish. What's that all about?
Um, so I'm hearing the word from, this is back from the higher self, semantics. I feel he says that this is,
I mean, it seems like you get your feel you're very thin skinned, and if somebody does something to you negatively, you react almost childishly.
yeah, he says in this type of setting, but like in the public eye, he says people are going to dig as deep as they can and pull out. And then he said the word negligence in the middle of that whole sentence.
Okay.
But he said pull out things that otherwise would have been neglected or just not cared about. Um, but understand this is the higher self again saying that there's a lot of ego involved. There's reason for it, but there's a lot of ego involved, and that ego has a need to retaliate because it's about power. It's about being like up, being
And protecting himself, maybe. I heard his father was pretty hard on him, so maybe that's part of it. His upbringing. I have
so,
compassion for him, though, of course.
yeah, sort of protecting himself, but almost a need to prove, like to kind of retaliate and then prove himself again and again and again. So,
Okay.
but
Well,
I feel like that's been a spiritual mission his whole life.
yeah.
It seems like
Okay.
from like the day he was born.
Now, like I asked Hillary, I'm going to ask you: is your lower self, the human Donald Trump, an honest man?
I can't give a yes.
Oh, wow. Well, white
Uh,
lies, or are you
so
a
let,
dishonest man?
let me explain that for a minute. When I say I can't give a yes,
Yeah,
it's
what does that
because
mean?
um, if no matter what we're talking about, the energy completely aligns to yes or will completely
Oh,
align to no.
okay.
So it's not completely aligned to yes, so I can't just give a
Okay,
yes.
maybe it's sometimes he's honest, sometimes he's not.
Exactly. I
Okay.
feel like it's back
That's
and
the
forth.
same thing with Hillary. I guess it's probably true of most lower selves, you know?
That's what I'm hearing, that it's actually in all of us.
Yeah.
Have put the potential and the ability to be the capacity to be dishonest. That's
Yeah.
how we.
Little white lies, baby. All right, last question. What are your hopes for the country? And I asked the lower self or the higher self.
Um, the lower self says power and empowerment.
Hmm.
I literally feel like it's like raising up in this power. So very much, very similar to Hillary
Hmm.
in like those iron fists just rising up out of the ground.
They're kind of similar in a way, I'm learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but then the higher self says that the purpose for this is again to move people in a way to get them to react, but listen to their reactions. Why are you reacting, and what are you. So they're learning about themselves because these two people are both very. Um, this is Erik talking,
Okay.
but he says these two people are both very loud, abrasive, strong with their energy. So they are needed to create movement. Their person.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so he's talking about movement within mankind, like shifting
Yeah.
their awareness.
All right. Well, who will the country be better under? More positive spiritual changes in every way.
So I'm asking Erik this question, and he's showing it being a very level playing field. And
Hmm.
then when you said, who will they better be under spiritually, he's leading toward female energy.
Okay. All
Female.
right.
So he says, but remember, people, it doesn't matter who your country's ruled by for your own spirituality. He's just kind of joking to himself when he says that.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Eric. Thank you,
absolutely.
Mr. Trump, Miss Hillary.
Erik says he's like bobbing his head. He's like, "Yep, anytime, mom." And then the two higher selves kind of both. It's funny because they're standing side by side like friends,
Oh, they're
very
not.
yeah, very close. And they both sort of kind of again like do this bow type of thing, and then they pull their energy back and say thank you. So my
All right.
pleasure as always.
Okay. So
Bye bye.
that was awesome. Thank you. I love you, Eric.
My pleasure. He says, "You know I love you, mom."
I know you still do.